So after a pretty disappointing week last week for the Bulls in which they lost all of their games, and yes, we knew it was going to be a tough week going up against some of the better Eastern Conference teams, but I thought they would have at least won one of the games, more specifically the game against the Hawks. And I think the more concerning thing I should say for the Bulls and Bulls fans is the Bulls are going on this slump, currently on a 4-game losing streak, and it could not have come at a worse time as we near the end of the season with under 20 games left to go. Like I had talked about this on the channel before the All-Star break when the Bulls were getting hit with all the injuries to Caruso, Lonzo, and Derrick Jones Jr., and even Lavine was missing sometimes. I had asked, do we need to be worried about how far the Bulls are going to fall in the standings while they're shorthanded? It's actually a question I had posed in a mailbag on the Bulls Talk podcast. It's funny because after this, the Bulls went on a 6-game winning streak and kept rising in the East, holding that 1 seed with good separation. And so despite all of the concerns around the Bulls falling in the standings because of the injuries, they actually proved all of the doubters wrong. However, the Bulls were going against some of the lower tier teams in the league, and now after seeing a rougher schedule, they have fallen in the standings. And again, I'm not too concerned because I still believe when the Bulls are fully healthy, they can compete with the best of them. But what I am concerned with is how far the Bulls could fall in the standings that would negatively impact their seeding and playoff chances. So in today's video, I'll be discussing that and the upcoming games for this week. And a big shout out to the sponsor of this video, BetUS, but more on that in a little bit. So what's going on, everyone? You were listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Now, real quick, if you enjoy the content of the channel, it would mean a great deal to me if you subscribe to it. That way you'll be able to see any video that I put out, regardless of how YouTube tunes its algorithm. About 50% of you watching the content are not subscribed, so if you like the work that I put out, it would mean a great deal to me if you did. But anyway, let's get back into the content. So a quick recap of the Eastern Conference standings and what the Bulls or where they sit at right now. And I'll probably start doing this periodically as we approach the end of the season and the playoff race starts to heat up. But as it stands at the time of this recording, the Bulls are sitting tied for 4th in the East with the Milwaukee Bucks, which you could probably consider the Bucks are ahead of them because with the Bucks winning the first 2 games in the regular season, they're likely going to finish with the tiebreaker over the Bulls should they end the season with the same record. The Bulls are just 3.5 games behind the Heat for that 1 seed though, so it's not like they're super far off from the number 1 spot in the East, or even the 2 seed for that matter. They're only a half game behind the Sixers, who are currently sitting 2nd. But you've seen the Celtics creeping up a bit now, as they've been playing some great basketball since February, and now are only a game and a half behind the Bulls at the 5th seed. And the Cavs, who have since started falling off, kind of coming down to earth in Cavs fashion, but they're also still 6th in the East and only 2.5 games behind the Bulls. And then, of course, beyond that, you have the play-in spots, the Raptors, the Nets, the Hawks, and the Hornets in that order. Now, as far as the Bulls game this week, they're going to be playing 2 of these teams that they're jockeying for position, one of which is tomorrow night's game against the Sixers in Philly, which is going to be their toughest matchup of the week. And then the Bulls also face the Cavs on Saturday back at the United Center before they go off on their West Coast trip. In between those 2 matchups, the Bulls will be playing the Pistons on Wednesday. Now, before I get into each of these games, you guys know the best spot to bet on the Bulls games, or really anything for that matter, is BetUS. BetUS, with their online sportsbook, you can bet on NBA, NHL, UFC, horse racing. You can even bet on golf, guys. They have loads of bonuses, referral bonuses, first-time deposit bonuses, and they're giving viewers of this channel an exclusive offer of 125% bonus from your first deposit when you use the referral link below in the description. Who doesn't want free money, right? So check out BetUS, get your phone, laptop, desktop, whatever, get yourself an online and social sports betting partner with integrity and longevity. BetUS, you bet, you win, and you get paid. Now, like I mentioned, the Bulls' first game of the week will be against the Sixers in Philadelphia, and you guys know by now, the Sixers kind of own the Bulls, especially Joel Embiid. Like, I can't remember even the last time that the Bulls beat the Sixers. I feel like it was back when Jimmy Butler was still on the team, meaning the Philadelphia 76ers, not the Bulls. And it was the only game that the Bulls had on national TV all season that year. But Embiid has really owned the Bulls ever since, and it pains me to say it because in ways I like Embiid, but I also sometimes cannot stand the guy because of his cocky antics. But he's a phenomenal player, and he's my vote to win the MVP if the season were to end today. And that's really the key to this game. How are the Bulls going to contain Embiid? Notice I didn't say stop, because you can't really stop Embiid, just like Giannis, but how can they contain this guy? And I know I'm going to get some flack for this in the comments, especially because this didn't work out in the last game against the Bucks, but I think you need to go big again and have Thompson and Vucevic on the court at the same time, because not only do you have to worry about Embiid, but you also have to worry about Tobias Harris, another big four that can score and rebound the ball well. And you're going to need bigger, more physical players in the paint to match the Sixers' physicality. I think it's way too early to give up on the Vucevic and Thompson experiment of them playing together. Like, the guys have barely played together this season when they're on the court at the same time. And the fact of the matter is, until Patrick Williams comes back, the Bulls are too small at the power forward spot. And it's fine against smaller ball lineup teams, but that's not going to work against a team like the Sixers. And the other challenge is, this is a different looking Sixers team than the last 3 times we saw these guys. And although they took away one of their better shooters than Seth Curry, they added an all-star caliber player in James Harden. And I wasn't too concerned about Harden going against the Bulls when he was on the Nets at the beginning of the season, and that's because between Caruso and Lonzo Ball, they both did a phenomenal job at limiting James Harden. But we're not going to be able to see these guys in the lineup tomorrow, and so I'm sure I will be assigned to guarding James Harden, which I'm sure he'll do a great job, but he's not the point of attack defender that Caruso and Lonzo are. And you saw that the other night against Jrue Holiday. And then as it relates to the Bulls offense in this one, they're going against one of the best defensive teams in the league, a great perimeter defensive team in guys like Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey. Really, Maxey's more of an offensive threat. The guy's been averaging 17.6 points per game. You add that on top of the elite scoring of Joel Embiid, James Harden, and even Tobias Harris, not maybe an elite scorer, but still a strong scorer that you have to keep an eye on. I don't know. I see this being a very tough one for the Bulls to avoid going on a 5-game losing streak, but I hope I am wrong, though. Then the Bulls will take on the Pistons on Wednesday. This game, I'm not too worried about, although I say that, and you've seen the Bulls put up bad games against bad teams, and we all know any NBA team can win on any given night. But the Pistons are one of the worst teams in the league. That shouldn't be an issue for the Bulls. That being said, though, Jeremy Grant is back for the Pistons, which the Bulls did not see the last time around. And in the first 2 games in which the Bulls played the Pistons, Cade Cunningham wasn't available. So this will be the first game against the Pistons, for the Bulls anyway, in which they'll see both Grant and Cunningham on the court together, who are arguably their 2 best players. But even above all of that, this is a very inefficient, poor defensive team, and as long as the Bulls can play marginally good defense and hit their shots, they'll win this game. It'll be good to see Io on Cunningham and see how that matchup shakes out. But either way, this needs to be a game the Bulls win. No excuses, especially considering the slump they have been in. You have to win the games you're expected to win. Then the Bulls will close out the week on Saturday at home against the Cavs. Now, the Cavs already have a 2-0 lead over the Bulls in the regular season series, which we've talked about is a problem because the Bulls have already lost any potential tiebreaker they would otherwise have with the Heat and the Sixers, and are now down 0-2 against the Bucks and the Cavs. So the Bulls really need to win this game. And we've talked about it before, when the Bulls are facing off against the Cavs in the past, they do not match up well against this team. They're a young, athletic team with lots of size and length. I still think the Bulls are ultimately the better team between the two, by far more talented, especially when the Bulls are healthy, but matchups-wise, matchups are important. And when you have 3 guys over 6'10" in the starting lineup for the Cavs, all of which are good players, one that was an all-star this year, and the other most likely is going to win Rookie of the Year, who is a great rebounder and rim protector, especially for only being 20 years old. Not only that, but they have Kevin Love coming off the bench, another big that can rebound and spread the floor. Like, yes, it's great that we now have Tristan Thompson, who we didn't have in the first 2 games against the Cavs, but the Bulls still don't even come close to the size and strength that the Cavs have down low. Between Mobley and Jared Allen, the Bulls are going to have issues with their rebounding that they have been struggling with recently, especially giving up so many offensive boards that have led to second chance points. You're going to need a big night from Vucevic cleaning the glass, and it really just can't come down to Vucevic. I mean, really, this is rebounding by committee. That needs to be the story in this one. Everyone needs to be fighting for the boards. No missteps like the other night when Zach Lavine leaked out for an outlet pass instead of going after the rebound, just assuming someone else would go get it, and it led to an easy bucket from Jrue Holiday. Now, the Cavs, although they have been slumping recently, they're still a good team. And with their young talent and how scrappy they are as a team, Darius Garland, a guy who's having a breakout year, was an all-star, and that's going to be a problem for them on the perimeter. They also acquired Karis LeVert in that trade with the Pacers. I know he's been injured, but it's possible he could be available by Saturday, and that's another added scoring threat. So again, another game that isn't going to be easy, particularly because of the mismatch that the Bulls will face. Now, as for my predictions for the week, Last week, I thought the Bulls would go 1-2, beating the Hawks, and of course, the Bulls lost all of their games, but I'm going to be a little more optimistic in this one. I think the Bulls will likely lose to the Sixers, which will suck, making it their 5th straight loss, but I think they'll close out the week winning their games against the Pistons and the Cavs. For the Pistons, they just better win that game. And the Cavs, it's at home, they'll have some rest, and despite the size mismatches issues that they're going to be facing, I still feel that the Bulls' talent and experience level over the Cavs, they'll be able to walk away with a win. But I want to know what you guys think, though. Let me know how you think the Bulls will fare in these 3 games. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget, the Bulls will be playing the Sixers tomorrow night. I'll have a live chat for that game. And until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.